Hi, and welcome to today's Ask Barn2 Anything live Q&A. I'm Katie Keith, founder and CEO at Barn2 Plugins.
And I'm Sam Waynes, and I'm the resident YouTuber. I do all of our video and other related marketing tasks, including this live stream for anyone who is curious about Barn2 plugins.
So before we get into the questions, let's do a bit of company news. So Sam and I and four of our colleagues are just back from the WordCamp Europe conference in Torino, Italy, where we had a great time speaking with customers and other members of the WordPress community. And I wrote up our experiences there, if you'd like to read it on our blog. I did my very first ever talk at a WordCamp, which was scary and exciting. Oh, and my suitcase got lost twice, if you want to read all about that. My eye caught on that picture. So that's us at WordCamp. Other news is that we've added some extra discounts to our customer discount center. Now, this is something that we set up maybe 4 months ago, where we basically negotiated discounts at 57 other WordPress companies for our customers. And that link doesn't tell you what the discounts are because that's a public link. But when you become a customer, we email you a secret link with the actual discounts. And if you're already a customer and don't have it for whatever reason, then just contact our support team and they will send it to you. So new discounts we've added are Dot Store, who sell various WooCommerce add-ons, Valet Web Services, and HostWP.io. So we've got, there's all sorts in there. There's product services, hosting, basically everything you need for your website at a discount. And the final bit of company news is that we've launched new admin demos for our WooCommerce bulk variations and our Post Table Pro plugins. So that basically means that as well as the existing front-end demo that you already had, you can spin up a free instant test site where you can play around with the back end. And to find those, you just go to the sales page for WooCommerce bulk variations or Post Table Pro and click on the demo link, and you now get a choice of front or back end. So we're gradually rolling out these demos across more and more of our plugins.
Yeah, and I really like when we add more of these demos personally, because as I'm making more and more videos which have tutorial sections, it's really nice for the viewers to be able to jump in, create their own instant site, and be able to follow along with the tutorial before they have to make a decision about purchasing the plugin right away.
Definitely. And actually, it's saving me time too, because I'm going to show you two of those quick spin up sites that I've created as part of just answering people's questions for this live stream. So now we have them. I'm just spinning up instant sites using our plugin and creating what the potential customer has asked for. So it's saving us time as well as you.
Yeah, and speaking of asking questions, I know that some people are already watching live, but yeah, so if you are watching live and you have a question for us, you can leave it in the comments wherever you are watching from. We have several different platforms, including Twitter, Facebook, and StreamYard itself. And hello to Mike. Excited to see how this plugin will help. Well, I don't know which plugin, but I'm sure we'll get to your question eventually. Plenty of people have already left their questions in advance of this, and they will be able to get their questions answered as we go through. So be patient. If you're on that list, we will get to you eventually, and you can always catch this replay. We leave it live. We leave it up on YouTube as part of our live stream playlist with the date stamp in the title, so you can tell which one it is, and you can see when your question came up, because there's also timestamps for those videos.
So let's start with some general questions that aren't about specific plugins. First of all, we've got one from Michael, who I think is different from the Mike that just left a comment, because I think we've got a Mike comment later as well. So Michael wants to know about agency support and multi-site usage for internal stores. So Internal stores are generally not available to the public, so you might be selling to internal team members or something like that, or it might be a wholesale store that's not available publicly. So there's lots of different types of internal stores. In terms of agency support, when you buy our plugins, you can choose between different license levels, and some of them come with priority support. I mean, the support's always as fast as we can make it, and we try to prioritize everybody. But of course, we do have a priority system. And so if you get one of the higher license tiers, then you get priority support with guaranteed timescales. And that's generally the better option for agencies, particularly since those are the license options which cover more sites as well. So there's two reasons to get those. And I'll just put a link to the screen on the screen of our knowledge base article, which describes how our support priorities and the priority support work. Michael also mentioned multisite, and with WordPress multisite, generally you need a separate license, effectively an activation for each site within the multi-site. So if you've got a multi-site of 50 sites, then you would effectively need a plugin license that would cover 50 sites. But I think from Michael's wording, I'm gauging that it's not necessarily 50 real websites. And this does cause a problem for multi-site customers sometimes, because sometimes people use multi-site for genuinely different websites. WordPress.com isn't a good example, because every site on WordPress.com is part of a multi-site. They are standalone websites. Similarly, if you're a restaurant chain that has 20 different outlets, 20 different premises, I think it's fair enough to have a different license for each site. However, if it's not that, and you're just using multi-site for, say, different languages or something like that, and it really is just an internal thing, then I agree it's not fair to make you buy a separate license. So on this page that I'm just putting on the screen, we explain that if you are genuinely using multi-site for internal purposes, then that's fine, and contact us and we can look at extending your license key without you having to pay for each sub-site.
Awesome.
Before we move on to the next section, we had a last minute question from Gavin, which is he exported his product list to CSV and sees the wholesale price in the sale price column, and he provided a bit more information as well. This basically, I think this needs to be a support ticket, because he's exported some data from our plugin and something's appearing in the wrong place. So I think that rather than covering that here, you need to go to our support center and we will be able to look at the exact details of your site and your environment and help you out with that. So I've put the link on the screen, and please get in touch that way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and Bob, we have just started, so you haven't missed much. And we're just about to get into our first plugin now. So I'll load that up on the screen real quick. It's WooCommerce product options, right?
Yeah.
Okay, that's the one. Good. So this page here is where you can see the plugin, obviously, on our website. You can read about it here. But if you click on View Demo, you have the choice, like Katie mentioned, of the admin demo. This is where you load up an instant site. Or you can just view the front-end demo, which is what I'm going to show you right now, just to introduce this plugin. So WooCommerce Product Options is a plugin for adding unique and interesting options to your products. They're kind of an alternative to variations, and in my opinion, they look a lot better. So in this example, we have radio buttons, and we have these checkboxes as well. And you'll notice if you look in closely that each of these also comes with a additional option for an additional charge. So for example, stuffed crust, add $250, $2.50, I mean. And you can also see in some of the other examples, let me find this one, birthday cake. Here are some other things like color swashes, image buttons, text fields, photo upload, and again, we can also have a drop down, just like in the original variations. So this plugin does a lot. It also has a pricing calculator, which I'll just quickly show because that's what a question will be about, I think. So here is an example of the pricing calculator in action. So the made to measure curtains, they're priced at $50 per square meter. So when we add a width and a length, it's going to give us a price. If I do a different one, we'll get a different price. So it's a dynamic pricing calculator. It updates the price based on the inputs from the customer. All
Yep.
right, Katie, do you need to share your screen, Katie?
Yep. So we'll move on to Mike's question, which is, say I have some letters and I'm selling each letter. That is, 8-inch letters might be $13 each, 10-inch might be 15, and so on. Do you have some kind of cheat sheet for the price formula? So I actually emailed Mike today to clarify exactly what he meant, to make sure that I answered his question properly. And I prepared a demo based on that. So I will share my screen. So first of all, this is basically what Mike wants to do. So this is the Etsy website, which you're probably familiar with, and it has a lot of personalized products. And for this one, they're selling letters like you might put up on your nursery wall or use for craft activities or something like that. So you can choose the number of letters and the price changes accordingly. And also it changes as you choose the height of the letter. And then you can say what letters you want and so on. So that's what Mike wants to do, but in WooCommerce using our product options plugin. So I created a demo, which I'll show you the finished page first, and then I'll show you how to set it up. So this is my quick admin demo, like I just mentioned, that I just created for the day. So here, I did it slightly differently to Etsy. You could do it like Etsy, but I thought I found a slightly better way. So you can choose the number of inches, the height of the letters here, and these are the text label add-ons. You can display them as checkboxes or radio buttons or drop downs or whatever, but I quite like this way of displaying the size. It's a bit more visual. And as you can see, the number of letters drop down is changing based on the size. So it changes like that. And then again, we've got the what letters do you want field, so you can enter those sorts of things. And I added a little extra as well, which is the ability to choose the color of the letter. And Mike's asked how to do this with the price formula, but I actually ended up doing it without the price formula. You can do it with a price formula, but as Mike kind of suggested in his question, it can be complicated. So I found what I think is a simpler way to do that, which I will show you now. So this is the back end of WooCommerce product options, and I created an option group called letters, and this contains all the options that we just saw on that letter product page. So I chose to show it on that particular product, and then I added these letters, these options, which we just saw in the front end. So for the height, I added a text label, which is where you can visually click on the 8-inch or 10-inch or whatever. And I just added those. And I didn't actually enter a cost for them because I've done that on the next section. I then created 3 number of letters fields, and basically that is one per price. So one of them corresponds to the 8-inch, one corresponds to 10-inch, and one corresponds to 12-inch. So let's look at the 8-inch one first. We've got number of letters, and these are the prices for the 8-inch options. So this is a drop-down field. I'll show you that. Drop-down select. And I entered the quantities as 1 up to 10, which is exactly what they do on Etsy. And then I entered the multiples of the 13 times table, which is the cost for 8-inch. So that's how I did the pricing without using a price formula. And then I use conditional logic, which is in the advanced settings, to show that if the letter height is 8-inch, then this will appear. And for the next one, which is the prices for the 10-inch products, then I selected the 10-inch and so on. So that's how you can only see one of the 3 number of letter fields at any one time. I then created some fairly simple fields to finish off the page, a text input field where the user can enter the number of letters that they want. And then finally, I added a color swatch field type as well. So all of that is done without any price formula. You can even make it more fancy than that. For example, you might want to charge a different price based on the color. You might want to change the percentage, add a percentage increase or a flat fee if they choose a gold color or something like that. So that's how I'd recommend doing it. And I realize that sounds kind of complicated. So I've written this up into a blog post today, which tells you exactly what I just showed you. So I will just put that on the screen, this one. So this blog post I just published, which is screenshots from the test site I just showed you. So this is exactly what I just showed you. So Mike, since you're watching live, let us know if you've got any more comments. But for now, he says awesome. So that's good. Or if you do think you really need a price formula, then add more information and we can advise on that. But I just thought that wasn't the best way to do it for now.
Yeah, the only downside with the price formula is it requires user input, and that it can be set up in such a way that this is without any issues, but it can incur some issues depending on what people do with that option once they try to type in some numbers. And if there's a problem, obviously we'll try to fix it on our end. But sometimes people just don't understand what to do. So
yeah,
giving
and we're
them
going to
more.
make it in version
Mhm.
2.0, which I keep saying is
Nice.
coming. It is coming, but I still don't have an exact date. But the price formula is going to be completely different, much more visual, but still complex
Cool.
because it is complex mathematical and logical
Mhm.
variables and things. Yeah, we can't make it simpler than it could possibly be,
Mhm.
but it is improving.
Mhm. Mike says, "That's awesome. I would like a price formula for any future products."
Yeah, and you
Yeah.
get that, and you can
Mhm.
contact us at any time if you get
Mhm.
stuck with it for your other products.
Absolutely. Absolutely. All right, I'm going to intro our next plugin. Sounds good? All right. So we have Document Library Pro up next, one of our older and certainly most popular plugins. This applies to the entirety of WordPress, not just WooCommerce. And it's a plugin for uh, listing some files or really anything you want in a document format. So I'm going to view the front end demo. Again, you can create your own backend demo. And this is what the documents look like when listed in a table view. And so you can see here we have like title, summary, all of these columns are customizable and they come with download links if you want, where you can preview documents like this. And there's a search bar, and I'm going to talk about these filters up here in the top left in a second. But just to show you, in this document library plugin, you can also include audio files, links to external files like videos, and you can also list them in a folder view, kind of like what you'd see on your computer. This is a lot easier for people to navigate in some cases. And the alternative to this table format is the grid layout. So you can choose to lay out your documents in this grid format, in this case with images and a search box, or in a more simplified version, you can just use icons like PDF or .xl. So now I'm going to talk about these filters. So up here, you can see this category drop-down filter and the tag filter as well. So you can really refine your search using these filter dropdowns. So we had a question. I'll just read it off the sheet.
Yeah, there you
So
go.
Bob says, yeah, thank you. I have a question on adding a category and tags dropdown to the main search function on the document library page. So that was what I was just demonstrating. Now we have an entire knowledge base article, which is showing right now. Yes, Katie? Uh-huh. Okay. And this is the article which explains exactly how to do that. But I will show you real quickly in the backend where this setting is. So I can show you that now. Okay. And if you go into the Document Library Pro Settings tab and click on Document Tables, and then you scroll down a little bit, you get down to the Document Library Controls. Now, if your table, in this case, has the categories and tags as part of the table, then you can select the drop down and you can show based on columns in table. Or if you prefer, like we have set up here, you can choose custom, and then you have to list document underscore categories and comma separated document underscore tags. We've also included file type in this example. So that's basically the answer to your question. I hope that was helpful. And you can always go to this knowledge base article, Document Library Filters, to see how to set it up.
Perfect. Sam, could you bring back the document library front-end demo and go to the front-end document upload page, because we've got a question about that.
Yeah,
so the question is, are we able to edit the front-end document upload form? A client has asked to replace the word excerpt with summary. So upload document there. So this is part of Document Library Pro. It allows most people add documents in the back end, but you can allow people to upload them from the front end, and you can hold it for moderation and things like that. And while the actual document library has things like editable field headings and things, we haven't yet actually provided options to edit the names of these fields. They're just what the fields are called. So I'm going to tell you two different ways to change the field names in the front-end upload form. The least technical option is to use a plugin like Low-Code Translate, which is free, to it's basically do a string translation, but you're not really translating it into another language. You're just using it as a method to change the wording. So you replace the string a description or whatever it's called with summary. And also there are some developer hooks within Document Library Pro, which are in our knowledge base, and I've put a link on the screen, which allow you to hook into it, into the front-end document upload form and change it directly through a custom code snippet. And our support would be able to help you with that if you don't know how to do it, or you could just use the Low-Code Translate plugin.
All right. How are we doing? Are we caught up on the comments so far? I think we managed to answer Bob's question. That's very good.
Yep. So he's saying his client hasn't selected those options. So I think that's about the filtering. So they just need to enable it. And yeah, you do. If you haven't got categories and tags as columns, you do have to enter them manually. So yeah, just talk your client through that.
And also make sure that the documents themselves are categorized and tagged, as that will obviously enable these filters to be useful in the first place. All right, I'm ready to demo Post Table Pro.
Yeah.
Shall we move on? Awesome. So Post Table Pro, it's kind of similar to Document Library Pro in that it lists things in a table format. So it does look similar. You can see the resemblance. But Post Table Pro is for listing anything, including, well, WordPress posts, pages as well. Yeah. And Katie, maybe you can help me. What else can we list here? There's
any custom post type. So a custom post type could be events, e-commerce, products, portfolio posts, case studies, media library files, anything.
Under our use cases, we have member directory, audio gallery, ebook library, A to Z list, staff directory, index, video gallery, and podcast archive as just a few examples. And if you come to this demo, you can try it out for yourself. I probably don't need to show the features too much because it's very similar to the previous table plugin as well. And we have a question about Post Table Pro.
Yeah, so Fernando wants to know, he wants to import a table of 3 columns, part number 1, which is the page title, part number 2, which is a custom field, and part description, which is the main description of the page, and then create a table listing the pages. So then I suppose each page would be a separate row of the table. So I've created a test site, again, using the admin demo of Posttable Pro. So I will show you what I've done. And again, I'm a bit awkward like this. I do go off piste somewhat. So Mike wanted a price formula and I told him how to do it without a price formula. Fernando wants to list pages, but I think there's a better way. So I will show you both ways and then hopefully he will be happy. So this is the end result of what I have created, which is a table of parts where it has the 3 columns. I'm going to, actually, my screen's a stupid shape, isn't it? Is that better? It has the 3 columns, which Fernando mentioned, part number 1, which is the title. And because it's the title, it links through to the single page for that, which you can disable in Posttable Pro. If you don't want it clickable, that's fine. It's got part number 2, which is a custom field, and it's also got the part description. So each of these are 3 separate posts. And I'll show you the back end now. So firstly, Fernando mentioned doing that as pages, which you can do. Posttable Pro can list the pages on your site in a table. That's fine. But the problem with that is that if you're using it for parts, it feels to me like it's going to clutter up your admin, because if you've got your home page and your about page and whatever, you don't want parts all messed up with that. So I would recommend creating a custom post type called parts, which is what I've done. So to do that, I installed a free plugin that's one of our plugins at Barn2 called Easy Post Types and Fields, which is available on wordpress.org. And I used it to create a post type called parts, which you can see here. So I used the add new option, created the post type, and then it added this parts section that you can see on the left of the WordPress admin. And when I did that, I made sure I'd enabled the title and the description, which Fernando wanted to use for certain table columns. And in addition, he mentioned that part number 2 should be a custom field. So after creating that parts post type, I used this custom fields button here. So in post types, manage custom fields, and I created a custom field called part number 2, like that. After that, I went to the parts section of the admin and I created the parts. I don't really know the context of Fernando's use case, like car parts or something else, so I just made it up. But you can see that the title is part number 1. The custom field we just created is down here, part number 2, and then the part description. So those are the 3 pieces of data that you want to display. And then finally, we go into post tables, which is the Posttable Pro section, and we're going to go to tables, add new. But because I already did that, I'm going to show you the one I already created. So I created a table of parts, and I'll show you the options that I chose. If Fernando definitely wants to use normal pages for the parts, that's fine. He would have selected pages here. But I selected the parts post type under which type of content you want to display. I want to display all the parts, so I kept it at that. But if you were displaying something like pages, you might want to select specific ones only to avoid including your home page and your about page and other stuff. And then I created 3 columns. Part number 1 is the title, but it said title by default. So I used this little pencil icon to rename that column to part number 1. For part number 2, I chose a custom field column and I entered the custom field name that I created a minute ago, which is part number 2. And then finally, there's the content column, which I renamed to part description. And that was my table. So that will bring me to the table that I showed you a minute ago, which I will just go back to very badly. Sorry, trying to use, because if I go to a different tab, I'm going to lose you. So I'm trying to do it all in one tab. There we go. And that is what the end result is of what I just showed you. And it has a search box, which you can hide if you want, or you can add filter drop downs if you're using things like custom taxonomies to categorize your parts, which will look like what Sam showed you in Document Library Pro a minute ago. So that's how I would recommend setting that up.
And I'll just highlight this. Bob asked if we're recording this. Absolutely, we are, and it will be viewable on YouTube at any time. And for anyone who's watching right now, you will probably be a fan of our YouTube channel. You may not enjoy every single video because they cover a wide range of topics and tutorials, but in general, you'll get a lot of useful information from our channel relating to our plugins. So yeah, go over there, subscribe if you want to, or just check out the playlists.
And how many subscribers do we have this week?
Oh, we crossed 6,000 subscribers.
We did.
Which I'm very excited about.
You did.
When I started, we were somewhere around 3,000 something. So getting close to that double the that number. So yeah, I'm pretty excited.
Year and a half, isn't it, since you've been here?
But the last 1,000 happened between, I believe, January or even February and now. So it's a quicker milestone than the previous one. Alrighty. I'm just catching up on where we're up to in terms of the questions.
So we're on Han's question now.
That's right. We have a question from Han about Korean localization of Post Table Pro. And we have a knowledge base article once again about translation. And I'll just share that with you now. So you can go to the link that Katie is showing on screen at the moment to read more about this. But in terms of translating posts in Post Table Pro, we do have automatic translation for the back end of the plugin, as well as what displays on the table in English, German, French, Spanish, Portuguese, Italian, Dutch, Polish, Swedish, and Norwegian. But we don't have Korean. So unfortunately, you may have to come up with a more custom solution. You can use multilingual plugins. That would be if you want to have a multilingual site. But if you're just looking for some translation within the plugin itself, what did we discuss, Katie? I'm trying to recall.
How to add custom translation sections. So that would just allow them to translate the plugin in that one language.
And if you are going to manage this and you are doing it in a new language that we don't yet support, we would absolutely love to have it for the plugin for anyone to use. So if you don't mind sending it to us, we can. If you can get in touch with Katie or our support team and let us know that this is something that you have already, then we can integrate it for future customers as well. And I believe the last people who submitted that got some kind of extension on their license or something like that, right?
Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah.
Okay.
So if you're going to do it for Korean, that'd be amazing. Thank you.
So that is all of the pre-submitted questions. We've got 2 more questions in the comments, but before we get to those, I want to ask anybody else watching to add your questions now, because we tend, rather than running for a set time, we tend to finish when the questions stop. So yes, get typing if you have a question before it's too late. And while you're doing that, we will cover the remaining 2. So first of all, we've got a question from Mike. He was the one where we were talking about the letters in WooCommerce product options, and he wanted to know if there is a limit for the photo upload options. I'm going to share my screen and show you how to do that. So product options. So I'll go back to the letters group we created earlier, and I'm going to add a different option now. So I click add option and I want to add an image. So here we want to do the file upload, and I'll just show you the options for that. So you could say upload an image or whatever you want. If you want people to pay to upload an image, then there's various options for that, but I think most people don't, so I will leave that.
Katie,
can
is
make
it
it
possible to get a little bit closer to the screen, like zoom in a
to
little
zoom
bit?
in. What
Or
happens if
no?
I do this? Does that help?
Well, now, yeah, a little bit, a little bit.
Yeah, it's kind of not going that far, is it? Yeah. Okay. So in the advanced settings is where we've got the options that Mike wants. So we've got a maximum file size, which you can use here. So you might want, and that's in megabytes, so like 100 or something. And you can also add a maximum number of files. So it might just be one or something like that. You can choose what types of files. So if it is an image, you want to get rid of the non-image types of file and so on. So those are the options that you get for your image uploads.
Mhm. I would probably limit an image to something like 10 megabytes or 5 if you wanted to be really strict.
Yeah,
100,
depends what you're
100 seems
doing.
quite generous.
Yeah, but what if it's like a massive billboard for printing
Yes,
or
true,
something?
true.
You never know.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that was Mike's question. And on the same topic, he said, will the blog be posted today about the letters? Yes, it is already live. I will put it back on the screen. So if you go to that link now, then it's already published. I did that pretty quickly. It hasn't even got a fancy image yet at the top, but it's live.
If you're doing blog posts, you can think of it and write it and have it up in the same day. If you're doing videos, you're
Mm.
lucky if it's 2 or 3 days.
Yeah,
Yeah.
video is a bit of a bigger commitment, isn't it, than just,
Mhm,
I'm creating a test site, I'll just type up what I'm doing and that will help people for longer. Videos requires thought, doesn't it? And
mhm.
time.
Nice one. Well done.
So
Bob finally posted his question.
oh yeah, going back to the excerpt field on the front end upload form in Document Library Pro, is it possible to add a placeholder in grayed out text? Kind of. Just thinking the best way to do that. Oh, I think he said more to add to it. As we will be changing the field native summary for the client, it would be good to be able to have a description, enter a brief summary of the document, for example. You can do that using advanced custom field. So I say instead of using the excerpt, which is pretty basic, a WordPress excerpt is just a plain text field. It's not very good. So I know I talked about using our own easy post types and fields plugin earlier, but if you want to have a grayed out kind of default text or something like that, then I would recommend using the free advanced custom fields plugin instead, because that has more features. Basically, it's a more advanced plugin, whereas easy post type is intentionally very, very simple. So I would recommend creating a custom field with advanced custom fields and entering the default text. And then that will automatically have that same default text. And you can style it using the WYSIWYG visual editor to gray or whatever you want. So that's probably the best way to do that.
Well done for having an answer so quickly. That's on the spot, putting you on the spot, Katie.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
And I think that's all the
Mhm,
questions. Bob's saying nice things, but in
mhm.
terms of questions, I think that is everything.
Wow. Okay, so short and sweet today. It's good because then people will be able to find all the answers to these questions in a much easier and faster way using the timestamps in the replay on YouTube.
Mhm.
I think I think that wraps us up for today. And Katie has the schedule for the next live stream.
Yeah, 29th of July, which is a Monday this time, same time as this. If you go to the events page on our website, barn2.com/events, then it's already up there so that you can pre-register and send us your questions in advance.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and yeah, of course, submit your questions at any time, and we'll be adding them to the list. I suppose first in, first served, right? So just depends on what plugin it is, and we'll get to it as soon as we can. So
Yeah.
thank you very much for those of you who are watching live, and anyone who's watching the replay still. and we will definitely see you in the next one.
Yeah. Thanks for watching, everyone. Bye.
Bye bye.